What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Cutting Up with Unkle Mel. And I have a very, very special guest with me, Mr. Presidential Veal himself, Jonathan. Hey, I just want to thank you for coming, man. This is a special topic. I definitely want to thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, man.
Well, hey, we talking about Father's Day, man. We are talking about the fathers. So let's get into it.
Cut up Unkle Mel.
Hey.
Cut up Unkle Mel.
Hey.
Cut up Unkle Mel.
Hey.
Cut up Unkle Mel. Cut up Unkle Mel. Cut up Unkle Mel. Cut up Unkle Mel.
Where the fathers at? Yeah. Who? Who? Father's Day, we cutting. What's going on, man?
What's going on?
Not much. I just want to thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, man.
And so Father's Day is coming up.
Yeah.
And we was thinking about what would be a good topic. And I looked at the calendar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Father's Day is coming up. And I have a lot of respect for your father.
Yeah.
And I just think you are just a special young man.
Thank you.
And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the way that you were raised. Because you're grown now.
Yeah.
Because you're grown now. Ain't no more raising. You,
Indeed.
You're on your own now.
Yeah. Indeed.
So that's just one I want to talk about, man. So what's your relationship with your father like, man?
So me and Dad, the relationship has sort of come into some sort of metamorphosis since I turned 18. My dad was, to me, growing up, was he was a director, and he was the one that put me back on the path that I needed to go when I got off. He was the judge and the jury.
So you got off track?
What?
I can't picture you getting off track,
Yes, sir.
man.
Yes, sir.
Honestly, I can't.
Yes, sir. And so, now that I'm older, my dad is still a director, but he's a giver of now wisdom. And there's a quote that my grandfather would say, "Son, listen to wisdom and get understanding." And so now that I'm older, my dad is the person I go to when I need advice. I need some sort of direction, whether it be personal, professional, whatever it may be, spiritual. I go to my dad. That's our relationship. It's more of a friendship now than a father-son, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, when I met your dad, when he came into the barbershop, right? He's a man of stature.
Yes.
He's
indeed.
a tall guy.
Yes, indeed.
Got a little size on him. But and I'm not gassing. Like I'm being legit.
Oh yeah.
Your daddy got a glow about him.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
Like he chocolate,
Yeah.
but he got a glow.
Yeah.
And I was like, when he in my chair, I normally do the talking.
Yeah.
But with him, it make me want to do the listening.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, who is this guy?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I didn't know that there was another version of him walking around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And bro, it's just then I found out he got 4 boys.
Yeah.
I didn't find out about y'all sister for a long time till
Yeah.
you mentioned. I'm like, he got 4 boys. Like,
The
wow.
last time I was here, man. Yeah.
Then he got a daughter. I'm like, bruh,
Yeah.
he got his work cut out for him.
Indeed.
And how do you think he managed it all?
He had a great father, man. I think great fathers breed other great fathers. Because of his example, I believe myself and my siblings will understand and know how to raise our children and do the best that we can with them. That's the one thing that my father always did, was even when him and my mom split up, he made the commitment to us. Eventually, he found another wife and he got married, but his commitment was always to his children.
Mm-hmm.
His children were always priority, and I think, that is,
Well, let me touch bases on that, because my dad went through a similar thing.
Yeah.
I'm talking about my daddy. My daddy was married to a woman that's not my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And according to my mom, she said that his wife ended up giving him some type of ultimatum. You either choose your son or you choose me.
Right.
And he chose me.
Right.
And she was paid.
Yeah.
She had a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like some other podcasts talk about, a woman's money is not really important to a man. And my daddy definitely chose to raise me over his marriage that he was already in.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that he was going to have to take me under his wing and raise me himself, right? But he made the adjustment, so I understand what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted to ask you, your dad's in the church, correct?
Correct.
So how does he guide you spiritually, assuming that he does?
So as far as our family goes, it would be hard to explain him without explaining the family line. So my great-grandfather, Lafayette Veal Sr., was a pastor at Rosedale Baptist Church in St. Francisville. My grandfather then became a pastor in Port Allen at God's Church of Ministries Worship Center, Apostle Calvin Veal Sr. And then when he passed in 2017, my dad went and took over the church along with my grandmother. So, that's our family. It's in our line. So first of all, that's an example that's been set for me since before my time, if you understand what I'm saying. And so as far as guiding me spiritually, there's not much of anything that he can teach me that can teach me better than the way that he lives his life and his example.
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say that because my dad has been through so much, even with the sudden passing of my grandfather and him having to take over the church so quickly and him sliding into that role so very well without complaint, without second guessing, without backing out, although I'm sure there were times where he wanted to, it never happened.
Okay.
He stuck to what he knew. He stuck to what our family line was meant for, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no better way for him to guide me than the way that he lives his life. And he does that very, very extremely well for both me and all four of my siblings.
Well, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So I got an interesting story,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the story about how I got here. So my dad, he's a bike guy, right? I think he got a 78 Harley,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm pretty sure he was out with some of his buddies who probably also had bikes.
Yeah.
And he saw this little young tender, you know what I'm saying? And she wanted to ride his bike and ended up riding something else. And that's how I got here. And I have this special little hot girl on the line who I call Mama.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, Mama?
Hey, baby, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
That's
So
good.
so let me ask you something that we never actually talked about, just because I never asked. But what was my daddy like on the day I was born? What was that like?
Oh, he was anxious. He was, because we didn't go and have any thing done to see what the sex was or anything. We didn't do that back in the day. So it was just surprise. So obviously he wanted a son because he was extremely happy. He told grandmother to give him a call at work. He would leave work, and do whatever that he had to do. But yeah, he was extremely happy to have another son. So he bought me some yellow roses. So I was good.
Yeah, and we talked about the day I was born, but something that a lot of people don't know is that the day when my son sees this later on in life, just it's not your fault, son. It ain't nothing to do with you. But the day he was born, and a lot of people don't know, it was the worst day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 6. And the worst day of my life was 6 days ago. I mean 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is, like I could never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor came in. My son about 15 minutes old. Doctor come in and say, hey, I need to talk with just the mother and the father only. We had another family member in the room, so she was asked to leave out. And the doctor's like, hey, I have to tell y'all, your son has Down syndrome. I'm like, man, fuck. I'm like, fuck, really? God. Because I had all these plans for us, right? And man, I was balled up in the corner in the hospital room. You hear me? Crying my ass off, crying like I never cried before.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And he was just like just so fat, you know what I'm saying, but like a abnormal type of fat, not a I was like, why he so big? Like, you know, how this big baby came out and shout out to his mother, Monica, cause she was really strong, and I'm looking at her like, why the fuck you ain't crying? Like, why this shit ain't hitting you like it's hitting me? Like, what the fuck wrong with you? Yeah. This lady just came in and said that our child has Down syndrome. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, bruh. So I'm mad and sad. I'm mad at her. I'm sad for him, and I'm in the corner. And my daddy was there. And my daddy came and got me and talked to me, and that was probably the most important thing that my daddy ever did. Was talk to me about, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, you know, kids just need love, bro. I'm like, fuck, Down syndrome. And my daddy got me to, man, I was in the fetal position in the room, and I was in the fetal position in the hallway. Like, man, I wanted to smoke with everybody. Yeah. You hear me? I'm talking about I want to smoke. And my daddy calmed me down and whatnot. And I looked at my son. I looked at my son, and I was like, I said, I got you. Yeah. I said, I got you. And my dad looked at him, and he said, man, he said, this kid gonna be special. And then we ended up doing a chromosome test, and, you know, it came back negative. But then right after we found out he don't have Down syndrome, we found out that my oldest son has autism. You know what I'm saying? And that test was positive. So, you know, dealing with that, you know, just raising a kid with autism. Other kid thought he had Down syndrome. He had the physical features of it. I ain't gonna lie. Like, when I did some research and I saw it, I could see why the doctor would say that. But I just think it's fucked up that she would say that without the test being done. You know what I'm saying? Because it almost sounded guaranteed. You know what I mean? You remember that day, Mama?
Oh, yeah, when I walked in the room and I saw my son in a fetal position, something I had never seen. And then we did get to the point that where we got to the chapel and we prayed.
Yeah.
And we prayed.
And them hospital churches uncomfortable. I ain't gonna lie. Them pews is hard on your ass, boy. And that floor is harder on your knees. But you know, that was a trying time for me, man. Just I was new to fatherhood. You know what I'm saying? My kids 13 months apart. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, damn. Then I get the test. Like, I noticed my oldest son just doing stuff that was different. I'm like, man, this ain't normal. I'm telling his mom, I'm like, Monica, I'm like, man, look at what he's doing with his hands and stuff like that. I'm like, nah, this ain't normal, because I've been raising kids since I was 9 years old. Like, my fatherhood journey really go back to when my nephew was born. You know, I've been Unkle Mel. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this fatherhood thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, but my daddy raised me strong enough to be able to handle what I'm doing. I'm a full-time father. I don't have a 9-to-5. I cut hair. Don't get me wrong. I got you looking good. Indeed. By the way, you know what I'm saying? Y'all check me out. But, you know, my job really is being a daddy. Yeah. And it pays the most. Yeah. Never got paid that much. You know what I'm saying? Just every little thing that my oldest son does, every little advancement he make, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's way further than what it seems. You know what I mean? But yeah, and you said something recently, man, and it was heavy. You said that I'm like another father figure to you. Yeah. And for me, knowing who your daddy is, I was like, wow. And then I was like, well, you know, that's why I'm Unkle Mel. And you looked at me, you was like, nah, bro, I got uncles. You do more for me than an uncle. And that's heavy, man. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to do a show. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? In general. And another motivation for me doing this show is not for likes, streams, comments. Although I want people to do all that shit now.
Please.
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 But I'm doing this for my children, so that way I just want them to know who I am.
Yeah.
Because at first I started to do like a little personal family vlog thing or whatever.
Right.
Like where I just record videos, you go back and watch family videos, stuff that black people don't typically do.
Right.
But I was like, nah, and then when I lost that barbershop, I said, man, I got to take the barbershop virtual. Mm-hmm. But I really do this for my kids, particularly my son, Jalen, who, can see who I really am. I just want him to know everything about me. Whenever I close my eyes for the last time, I want him to be like, I know my daddy. Like, I really know my daddy. My daddy was that wild ass Unkle Mel dude. The shit that he was saying in front of that camera was not the shit he was saying at home. But he know his daddy real. He know his daddy authentic. Ain't no capping on this show. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I'm giving you is the authentic version of me. And, this is emotional. I really love my dad. Man, I remember one time I went to go visit my dad, and I had Monica with me. And we was leaving. I just started bawling, crying. Like I was looking in the rearview mirror at my daddy just going out. I just started crying. I know. I'm like, man, what the fuck wrong with me? What's going on? And that's when I realized, bro, like I really love this dude. Because I didn't like my daddy for a long time because he was raising me right. And when you getting raised by a strong black man, that shit hurt. You know what I'm saying? That shit hurt like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate you calling in.
Okay, then.
And look, thank you for being the right type of woman to not keep my daddy from me.
Oh no.
And to send me to my daddy, because a lot of these young females out here, they messing up. But I thank you for calling in. No.
Yeah. I had to put you first.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. It worked out for you too.
Okay then. All right. I love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Okay. Bye, guys.
So, shout out to my mom for calling in. I really appreciate that, because in order for these fathers to do what they need to do, then the mom has to, let her reins go and give the fathers control. So let me ask you this. Your relationship with your dad, what value, outside of spiritual, just let's speak in the just regular form, something that I could definitely relate to. What value do your dad bring to your life?
Man. I honestly say I don't know what I would do without my father. There's so many, so much I can say, for the sake of time. My dad, while we were growing up, when I said earlier, my dad made us a priority in his life.
Yeah.
So much so that when he met his current wife, he came to us to make sure that all of us we were good with him moving on.
And see, that's rare, because a lot of dads be like, man, shit, I found something I like, I'm going with it.
He came to us, and all at the time it was just three of us. So all three of my siblings and myself, and we went out and we were talking, and he made sure it was a family decision that it was time for him to move on. Before that, my dad made so many sacrifices to make sure that we had everything we needed while we were growing up. My dad is my friend, my best friend, closest friend.
Okay.
Somebody that not only I can depend on, but I know he'll never go anywhere. Which, that's very important to me. That's great value to me. That's a great man.
And when you say great value, you ain't talking about Walmart brand.
Not at all, man.
Talking about that real great value.
Yes, sir.
Like that Kevin Gates say, look in the mirror. What do you see? I see a great man.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about my dad too, man. Like he ain't abandoned nobody. Like his oldest are in their 50s. And he's still there for him. You know what I'm saying? He's still there for him. That gives me confidence. Like, shit, if he's still looking out for them and they in their 50s, I'm 20-something years younger than them, then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know he'll be there for me, too. And, man, another thing, I remember when my kids were born, too, I had apologized to both of them. Cause I'm like, man, y'all ain't got the right daddy, bro. You know what I'm saying? Even though I know that I'll be around, but just trying to make sure that I'm right for them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, man, am I right for them? Am I going to make them better or worse? Because you look at yourself and you evaluate yourself, who you are as a person, and you like, am I a good person, bad person, or whatever? You know what I'm saying? And, I was just wondering, like, man, I'm gonna ruin these kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I got better though. I got better with that. Just realizing as the years gone, they turning out pretty okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing pretty good. Because there's one thing to be raising my sister's kids as an uncle, but to be a dad and it's your seeds, it's different. It's a different level of responsibility.
That's legacy, man. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And raising them is not easy. Like, I'm, working with my youngest son, getting him ready for first grade next year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, this is work.
Yeah.
Because it's so much that I want to teach him and put into him.
Yeah.
Because I know the thing about being a father, you can ruin your kids or you can make them, better. You got a lot of control in their future.
Right.
Because people don't forget their childhood. So the way you raise them, they will remember.
Right.
They will remember that. And, my dad is old school, man. Grew up on the plantation. You know what I'm saying? 1946, he dropped. You know what I'm saying? And grew up on the plantation. He's big on education because he wasn't highly educated. Didn't make it too far. Back then, you didn't.
Yeah.
1946, you might have went to school for a few years, but then you end up working for real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, that made him a man that was built to be in a difficult world.
Yeah.
And he raised me to be that way.
Yeah.
To be in a difficult world, to where my dad, I always looked at my dad as like, just being a hard guy. He had a hard job, working in the shipyard, doing his best, coming home and cooking blue runner beans out the can instead of making them from scratch. He would cook from scratch on the weekends, but not during the week.
Yeah.
And I remember even my homeboys just be like, man, your daddy mean.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, bro, but this how it is being brought up as a black kid in America. Yeah, you might say my daddy mean, but my homeboys wasn't black. One was Hispanic, one was white. And I'm like, yeah, my daddy tough. My daddy Superman. My daddy hard. And I remember the first time I seen my dad cry, man, we was in church.
Yeah.
I'm like, this dude has tear ducts. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't believe he was crying. Then in front of these people.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? My dad used to always get me ready to go to church and be like, boy, you gotta make sure you go in there and wash your ass. Now they gonna talk about you at church. And so when I seen him crying, I'm like, ooh, they gonna talk about your ass, boy. That's what I was thinking. You know what I'm saying? But just seeing that he had a softer side, and I guess, that's what I was thinking too, that maybe I wouldn't necessarily be the best fit for my kids just because, you know what I'm saying, my main thing is to provide. Yeah. And recently me and my daddy had a conversation about love. And I mean, I love my kids just fine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But just loving women. I was like, is this something that you were able to do? You like, I ain't never had no problem with it. I'm like, man, well, you sure should have told me, bro, because a lot of the stuff that I do, I'm thinking that I'm doing what you would do. And come to find out, I ain't doing what he did do. You know what I'm saying? But he always just taught me about what it is to be a man, what a man do, and that's mainly was just providing. At least that's what I got from it. You know what I'm saying? So, but, we have way more conversations now about things that I didn't think we would have talked about that we do now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So, what was that conversation like? That conversation about love. What was it like for you?
Well, I mean, I'm currently married, but I talked about my previous marriage, and he was just like, just trying to teach me how to understand when a woman's hurt. Yeah. Some things that I never really understood, because I'm like, my way of showing love is just to provide, but then come to find out that's not the only way you have to show love. Yeah. And just giving time and attention, because I'm always grinding. Like we grinding right now. You know what I'm saying? I just always believe in being a hard worker. And I never seen him display, affection and whatnot in ways like that. So I didn't know that was something that he was doing. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, I wasn't in my dad's relationship. I was a kid. Kids stay in the kid's place when you're growing up like I did. Right. You know what I'm saying? The only thing my dad ever really taught me about love growing up, he was like, you know what I'm saying? You can't buy love. And I'm like, well, these chicks out here nowadays, they want money. They'll love you got some money. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? But my dad was like, you can't buy love. You know what I'm saying? So, so, I mean, it was a difficult conversation, but then, he old school. He don't really like to talk about that type of stuff. So he like, boy, talk to your mama. I'm like, my mama can't tell me about a male point of view on love. Right. You know what I'm saying? But he will automatically just deflect. Boy, talk to your mama. Because some stuff like that, I guess, make his head hurt. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, and I was just, I'm I'm gonna try to get it right this time in marriage. I'm gonna try to get it right this time. Talking to him, you know what I'm saying? I need to kind of gut check myself because I was always just worried about being this provider man, being this strong man, this alpha male. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I guess you got to leave that outside. And when you come home, you know what I'm saying, treat a woman different. But I got boys, so I still got to be an alpha male inside the house because I got to, you know, check them. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So, you know, but yeah, I was scared to ask my daddy that question, man. Talk about love. Because people born in the 40s, you don't just ask them no anything. You know what I'm saying? My daddy rather tell you how to change the tire, change oil than to tell you about love. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You and your dad ever had that conversation about females?
Nah, man, the day that day is coming, I'm sure, very soon. But nah, man, I try to stay to myself as best as I can. You know, we hadn't had that conversation yet.
Well, let me ask you this: when you were trying to make like career choices because you're in college now,
correct?
Like, and you told your dad what your major was or what you plan on going in?
I did.
And what was his reaction to that?
So, ever since I was young, man, I had the vision of being the president of the United States since I was 8 years old.
Okay.
I finally remember we were at a church summer camp, and we were talking about areas of influence within, just within the world. And one of those places of influence was government. And from that day forward, I made a declaration over myself that I was going to be the president of the United States. So help me God.
Okay.
And so ever since then, my dad has done the best that he could to make sure politically that he throws stuff my way. Like last week, he started talking about, he sent me some stuff about what was going on in China and things like that. Even now, he has visions and things like that he'll share with me, political strategy, things that he sees. So my dad has always been very supportive because I was going to do something with criminology. Matter of fact, I was supposed to go play football somewhere, and it wound up not happening. And through all of it, he was very supportive. And, you know, I bounced around from major to major to major to major. Finally, I settled on criminal justice, which, you know, it's a good enough major to, you know, for whenever you're ready to go and fuse into law. But he's always been so very, very, very supportive.
And see, I guess our parents got two different parenting styles, man.
Yeah.
Because my daddy, you know, not that I hold these things against him, but some kids do. Like, you know, my dad never really came to my parades. You know what I'm saying? I think he might have seen me march in the march band like one time. You know what I'm saying? Never saw me march as drum major and stuff like that. So it really shouldn't have been a surprise to me that when I told him I was going to barber school to become a barber for the first time, my dad, you know what my dad said to me? He said, "Boy, don't be fucking nobody's heads up." I'm like, man, this dude here, bro. You know what I'm saying? That was what he said.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But where we from, bro, people don't play by their haircuts. But that was what he said. Boy, don't be fucking nobody's head up. I'm talking about, he said that shit quick too. I'm like, man, this dude calling me trash. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, bro. But then later on, he started asking me to cut his hair.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, just two different parenting styles.
Yeah. And, you know, Dad, for all of us, all because there's 4 boys now. So there were 3 before. There was 3 before he got married, and then he adopted my baby brother. Okay. And he's been very supportive for all of us. The brother that's underneath me, he's gonna play college ball. If nobody else makes it, he's gonna make it. The one under him, which is he's here with us today, he has great visions in making it pretty far in his athletic career. My sister has always had the vision of being some sort of scientist, and whatever the little one comes up with, and I'm sure my dad will be there. So my dad has always been extremely supportive, but his dad was the same way. In everything, my grandfather also supported us. So it's all in the way that he was raised. He did what his father did. He emulated his father.
So let me ask you this: what was your relationship with your between your dad and your grandpa?
Oh man, it was like a match made in heaven. Seriously, I don't think it. I'll never forget it. It didn't really start to develop until after my parents got a divorce. And, you know, I'll never forget Dad would go to the house almost every Sunday.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think your mom was standing in the way since you said it didn't really pick up until?
I don't think that's fair. You know, I don't think so. And, you know, that's not for me to say.
Okay.
You know, it's not for me to say. That's not fair. What I will say, though, is in those instances, whenever you're going through something like that, you need direction. Mm-hmm. My grandfather wasn't only my dad's father, but he was his pastor as well. And so there were times where my father needed spiritual counseling, because divorce, whenever you go through something like that, you're mending the souls together. And when you get divorced, the Bible talks about let no man separate what God has brought together. Now you have torn apart what's been brought together divinely, and now you need help to redirect yourself. And I think in a way my grandfather helped my dad to redirect himself so that he could be exactly what he is now. I think without that, the redirection, my dad wouldn't be in the position that he's in.
Yeah, after my divorce, you know, I needed some redirect.
Yeah.
Because me and Monica, man, we used to throw around the divorce word a lot before we got divorced.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be no surprise to me that it actually happened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And but yeah, you know, I'm trying not to go through that again. Another redirect, right? That's major. It'll really throw your whole life off track.
Yeah.
So I can totally understand why your dad went to your grandpa.
Yeah.
Like I said, 2 different parenting styles.
Mm.
When I went to my dad after divorce, you know what I'm saying, considering that it was my fault, right? Me just being a man and chasing the flesh. My dad was like, look, I don't want to hear nothing about it. Mm. So I was like, damn, he shut me out in the cold. You know what I'm saying? Like Simba when Mufasa died. He's just out there wandering. That was me. Mm. You know what I'm saying? I thought it, you know, my dad been married 3 times, so I thought he would have given me some direction, but nah, it was like, nah, bro, you on your own with this one. Like, just figure out what's next for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I ended up getting remarried. But when I got married the first time, I was scared to tell my daddy.
Yeah.
Man, bro, I am grown, and I still feel like my daddy could whip my ass.
I feel the same way.
You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
I still feel like my daddy could whip my ass. But let me ask you this. Have you gotten to a point yet to where because you're grown now, mm-hmm. Have you gotten to a point yet to where you feel like you got your daddy's respect?
Yeah. I believe it all happened. I'll never forget, I turned 18. I started coaching with my dad. I turned 18. How many days was that? Maybe 2-3 days after we got back from Florida. We had been coaching his All-Star game, as a matter of fact, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the Coach Mack All-American game. And my dad got me a whistle for my birthday, my 18th birthday. It's on my keychain.
Okay.
Still to this day. And then after that, I put it on my keychain. We took a ride, and we had a man-to-man talk that, you know, we're not going to express today because that's between me and him. And that was the day where I understood that my dad was there for me, not only as a father, but as a confidant and a friend. Uh-huh. Because now the dynamic has changed. Because now I'm getting older, mm-hmm. and I'm not a child anymore.
Right.
And you can't keep saying, stop, don't do that, stop, because, I mean, you can keep saying it over and over again. And if I do it, I mean, I'm responsible for my actions at this point. You can't blame it on me being young.
Grown ass man.
You can't do that.
Hey, and how old are you?
I'm 19.
So you said, I just want to pick up on this point, right? You said can't blame it on being young, right?
Correct.
Now, I just side note, Jordan, forgive me. You know, but women often would say I was young, and they'll be older than you. Mm-hmm. But you taking accountability.
And that's something that my dad and my grandfather taught. Integrity, as a matter of fact, was the biggest word that was thrown around when I was young. Like that's one thing that I'll never forget. Integrity from my dad and from my grandfather. Even to this day, dealing with my youngest brother, my baby brother.
Yeah.
Watching my dad get old is hilarious because his patience is I don't know where he got all the patience in the world from, but he got it. And I took over his impatientness from when he was younger with us.
Shit, you try not to have a heart attack, boy. Shit, you get older, you gonna learn some patience. Shit, that's why I raise your goddamn cholesterol up.
So with my youngest brother, he has challenges in school, just acting right. You know, this young generation, they want to be rewarded for acting right.
Yeah.
My grandfather used to tell us, you supposed to act right all the time.
Man, my daddy used to tell me, look, them people on TV got their education. You need to get yours.
You need to act right all
You got to be successful for you, not for me.
That's right. And so, you know.
Unless I come stay at your house.
Integrity was the biggest word thrown around. You do what's right all the time, even when nobody's watching. And accountability. Son, you're accountable for your actions. When we did something in that house, who did it? And he knew.
Right.
The one rule we had in the house, Zion can tell you, the one rule we had in my house, don't lie to dad.
Yeah.
If you lie to dad, you're going to get a whooping. That was the only thing we would get whooped for, lying to dad.
Now, that accountability you're talking about, because women and men are different in a way, but, you know, I know your dad is present in your sister's life.
Correct.
Is he teaching her accountability too?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it's just amazing how many women don't take accountability for nothing. And you saying can't blame it on being young. You're not even 20 yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've been accountable for way over a year.
You have to, man, yes. I've been accountable since I was 2 years old, man.
Yeah.
You have got to be accountable. You at the end of the day, you are held accountable for everything that you do. You can't charge it to this anymore once you get to a certain age.
Yeah.
Because now you know better.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say it's ignorance anymore. Then it becomes arrogance.
Because even my son with autism, I hold him accountable.
Yeah.
Because I realize he's smarter
Yes.
than what you would want to think.
That's right.
So I'll be like, man, you playing with me, bro.
Yeah.
You know you did this. Mm-hmm. You know that's your L. And then he'll start laughing all bashful and shit. I'm like, bro, don't play with me, man.
Yeah.
I know you more normal than people might think.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm going to chastise your ass. Keep playing with me now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, I understand. I understand what you're saying with the accountability. And I don't want to lose my point, but my dad held me accountable because at some point he was like, look, this is what men do. And when I got his respect, I think I was learning that as a man, there were certain things I need to be doing. Mm-hmm. And I think I got his respect when I was 25. That's when I felt like, now unfortunately, me and my daddy got close after his wife died. Mm-hmm. After his wife died. My daddy raised me from 6 to 19, but we got a good relationship after his wife died. And if you would have asked me, was she standing in the way? I would say the same thing you said. Mm-hmm. It's not fair to say she was. At 19, I went off to the military. Yeah. In 02, she passed in 08. Yeah. I got out in 05. I think I was 25 in 08. And that's when we got close. And I remember one time me and my dad was having a conversation about women. He was like, boy, when it come to women, trust me, you couldn't hold a stick to me, boy. Talking about, I could get them. You don't know nothing about that. And just to hear him talk to me like I was his partner, I'm like, oh, shit. This the moment where I realized I got my dad in respect. Yeah. This the moment every little boy be waiting on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And my daddy, you know, he always would say, he always have this thing, this is what men do. This is what men do. So even though me and Monica are divorced, we're not together no more. If something wrong with her car, I need to go check it out. Mm-hmm. Why? Because that's what men do. But I'll be like, Dad, you know it's not my wife no more. Don't matter. That's what men do. You know what I'm saying? He's just always implementing that. Mm-hmm. And that's why I like to be a mentor to young people. And I think that's why you and I have the connection that we have. And that's one thing I love about being a barber, just being behind that chair, getting to mentor the young men. You know what I'm saying? Never knew that somebody would tell me I was like another father figure. Yeah. And I appreciate that. And that means a lot coming from you knowing who your daddy is. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, these conversations is, like my daddy would say, what men do. You know what I mean? And let me ask you, so what are some of the life lessons that you learned from your dad? Like life lessons like, no matter what, don't forget this. This or this. It could be more than one thing, but like what you need to carry for life that maybe you would let your son would inherit.
First and foremost, my dad tells us all there's a scripture that he gives us is trust in the Lord with all your heart and lead not to your own understanding. That indeed is the most important life lesson that I believe I've learned from my father, aside from accountability and be honest and all of these other things. Honesty is the best policy, all of those things. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Because I've been in some situations, man, that I quite literally, that's all I could do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not for that, I would be stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like really stuck.
And I think being raised differently,
Yeah.
I think the thing that my daddy would have told me that's gonna stick as an adult, he told me that, you like, boy, don't sell my house. That for real. You like, don't sell my house. I know you like that money, don't sell my house. Then I'm like, why this dude keep telling me don't sell his house? Then I realized, okay, that's something that you gotta leave down to your kids.
Yeah.
So you're close to your grandfather.
Indeed.
Your grandfather now is one of your ancestors,
Yes, he is.
as he passed some years ago.
Yes.
Tell me what that was like for you,
So,
if you don't mind.
man, I will never forget October the 18th, 2017.
Yeah.
That's a date that is cemented in my mind. So much so I remember waking up. I remember everything I did the morning of. I remember every class I took. I remember every conversation I had. Everything.
And that's not the day of the funeral, that's the day of the passing.
That's the day of the passing.
Okay.
Down to the minute I remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll never forget waking up that morning. I just didn't feel right. My body was hurting. Nothing felt right to me.
Okay.
The night before, I had asked Dad, I said, Dad, can we go out to the hospital to see Pop? He was like, yeah, he's resting right now. I believe that day he might have gotten out of surgery the day before. He was just trying to rest and recover.
Yeah.
He's doing his best to recover. And we gave him a phone call instead. We talked to him. And so I just didn't feel right that Wednesday.
Okay.
So I got up, I went to school, and I'm in Spanish class, and I still, man, it's just something bothering me. And I get to English class that day around noon, and over the intercom, they said, we need you to come check out whatever. In my head, I know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mhm.
I don't want to believe it, but I knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
The most ironic thing was me and my brother were walking through the hospital that Sunday whenever he was admitted, and he said he's not coming out of here alive.
Just like that?
Yes. We were walking to Subway, never forget. He said, he ain't coming out of here. He not leaving. I said, shut up, boy. You don't know that. Hush.
Yeah.
None of us knew. And I don't know if he was serious, if that was something he was feeling, but he said it and it was the truth. And I got called out. I got to the car and I saw that my cousin had been crying a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Jesus, Lord. I knew it. Get to the hospital. We go pick up all the kids. We get to the hospital. They have to stay in the waiting room. We get up to ICU, and I see him. Out of the corner of my eyes, we're going back to the, as we're going back to the conference room, I see him.
Oh, you passed by his room?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw him.
Okay.
He was right by somebody that had just passed. The lights were out in there. He was right there. And I saw him, and there was a nurse in there. She pulled the blind, and I was going into the conference room, and I saw my grandmother was the first person I saw in the room. I didn't see my dad at the time. I believe my dad was still in the room with my grandfather at the time.
Now, the nurse had pulled the blinds closed just to paint a
Yes.
picture? She put them closed?
Yeah.
Okay, but you still was able to
And
see.
it wasn't I don't think she did it intentionally,
Uh-huh.
but, as I was walking in, I'm looking at his bed, and then all of a sudden she just pulls it closed.
Because that could be, that's kind of like a trigger.
Again, it's cemented up here, man.
Yeah.
That entire day plays over and over in my head. There are certain days where, I wake up and it feels like he just left. Like that day just happened yesterday. Today was one of those days.
Let me ask you that. Because I want to know why today was one of those days. But when you were in class and you felt uncomfortable, you think maybe that was his spirit communicating with your inner spirit that he was leaving?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I've always said this. I have the feeling that he knew he was getting ready to go. I have the feeling that he was prepared and he was getting ready to go, and he knew. Now I don't think he knew how he was going to go.
Yeah.
But I have the feeling that he knew that he was getting ready to go. And that day, I'm not sure what was going on. I just knew something wasn't right. We had very high hopes. We went into the conference room and the doctor basically said God himself would have to touch him, come down to earth and touch him for him to live. So my grandmother said, well, I guess all we can do is pray. My grandmother, first of all, shout out to my grandmother. That is the strongest woman living on the face of the earth.
Yeah, them older women, they built like that.
She is Superwoman.
They built tough, man.
The strongest woman on the face of the earth. They were married for 37 years, I believe it was.
Yeah, they built different, bro.
And she was, no matter what, she stood strong. We stood strong for her, and she stood strong for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, all we can do is pray. So we all left. I went to my aunt's house with one of my cousins, and I laid down to sleep. And I just had no dream, which is very odd. I have dreams frequently. No dream, just darkness. And normally I see white lights when I'm sleeping. And if there's no dream, I'll see white lights. It was just darkness. It was like I closed my eyes, but I had never really gone to sleep.
Okay. And
I woke up, and I'll never forget the phone call around 7:46. My dad called me and said, hey, brother, y'all need to come on over. He just went to sleep. I remember getting up to the hospital and walking into the room. My grandmother was on his right side, sitting in the chair. My aunt was there, both of my aunts. My dad was there, I believe on his left side. I can't remember who all else was in the room. My Aunt Dolores was there, his sister. My Uncle Lafayette was there. My brothers had come up. They come up with us that time. They let them into the ICU. And everybody was there. And, I couldn't do anything but just sit there in amazement that he was gone. Because the week prior, I'll never forget, was the most stressful week of my life. I quit playing. I was going to quit playing football that week. Mm-hmm. We frequently made the phone call to each other every week. On Friday, I'd call him. We would get dressed. The game started at 7. I would call him around 6:30 for him to pray for me every game. Okay. My freshman year all the way up until my sophomore year. Okay. He didn't answer the phone that Friday. He had left his phone at the church, and he felt so bad for it. And it to this day, that still it does something to me that he felt bad
that he missed that phone call. Yeah. That shows how much he wanted to be there for you.
That does something to me. And even after he had passed, my grandmother came to me and said that he had shared with her that he thought I was upset with him because the week prior to 2 weeks before he passed, he looked me in my face and he said, son, I had a dream about you. And he said, my dreams always come to pass. He said, son, don't you miss your chance to minister trying to blend into the crowd. Basically saying, son, don't forget who you are. Mm-hmm. Don't forget where you come from.
You think he felt like you would be somebody that would blend into the crowd? Because I don't see you as such, but you different.
At that moment in my life, at 16.
16.
That's the direction that I needed.
16. Okay. We talking about a whole different.
This was a whole nother time.
Before presidential view.
This was, yes.
Okay.
Way before that, because had I not heeded that wisdom to gain that understanding, then I would not be in the position that I'm in now.
So I wouldn't know you
not at all
as the person that you are.
Oh, not at all.
Let me ask you, so you brought up that you felt uncomfortable today. What made you feel uncomfortable today?
There are just certain days that sort of mirror the day after he passed. This morning was one of them.
He passed on a Wednesday, right?
He passed on a Wednesday.
And today is?
This is Thursday.
Okay.
So they mirror the morning that he passed. I woke up this morning to sunshine. That morning I woke up to sunshine. There's just certain things. I was looking through my closet today, looking for something to wear. Most of whenever he passed, I inherited his closet.
Okay.
And all of his suits I have, and I couldn't even bring myself to put one on this morning.
Well, let me ask you this: since you have his wardrobe, when you, because people like, I'll never wear another man's shoes. I'll never, you know, 'cause the spirits. You believe that his spirits are with you when you're wearing his clothes? You feel like you walk a little different, talk a little different?
It's comfort for me.
Okay.
It's comfort for me. I bring him where I go. Because there are certain times and instances where he gave me wisdom that I needed in certain times. And for some reason or another, if I get into a situation that happens to be uncomfortable, I'll hear his voice say, "Boy, don't you do that." Hey, boy. I'll hear it, man. It's like it rings in my ear.
If you do it, you better take my suit off before you do it.
Man, nah. And it's not even that, man. But those things, you know, whenever I'm wearing his shoes, like I wore his shoes up on Capitol Hill. I got the privilege to speak to a group of young people.
I remember you went to D.C.
Yes, in 2018, February of 2018.
I didn't know you had his shoes on.
I wore his shoes there, and I wore his shirt. I wore his yellow shirt up on stage. I said, "I'm taking you with me," and he was there in D.C. He got to see D.C. vicariously through my outfit.
Right.
But he was there with me. That's a comfort for me that he's still walking with me.
And you spoke in front of a lot of people that day.
Indeed, I did. I believe it was 4,000 people in total. I can't remember how many young people were there, but it was 4,000 people in total. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: what was your last interaction with your grandfather like? Before the passing, I guess.
So we were sitting in the hospital that Sunday. He called me. He said, "Charlie, I'm not feeling it." He called me Charlie. And
Chuck.
Just Charlie, man.
Just Charlie.
And I still, to this day, I still do not know why.
Why he called you Charlie?
Man, he watched Westerns, man. He was a Western man. And so I guess that must be the name of some strong horse that he had. I remember there was this time where we were sitting outside, and it was after I had just finished one of the biggest workouts that of the summer, my freshman year. Man, I was tired. My body hurt and everything. He had come home from Sam's with 2 bottles of water for the water dispensers. You know, like what you see in the car dealerships and stuff like that in offices.
Yeah,
they have one at the house.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, they have one at the house. So he goes and he went and bought fruits, and then he had 2 of those water dispensers. He backs the car into the garage, and I'm sitting outside. He gets out of the car. He said, "Charlie." I said, "Yes, sir." He says, I'll grab the heavy stuff. You get the light stuff."
And you just answered to it. You knew you was Charlie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because he wasn't talking to nobody else.
No, not at all. So he grabbed the fruit. He said, "I'll grab the heavy stuff. You grab the light stuff." He grabbed the fruit and left 2, might have been 3 of those big water dispensers big water jugs for me to take. He did a little laugh and he went inside. He said, "You think you working now, boy?" And man, that's something I'll never forget. And there's not many people that knew him that way. And nobody knew Pop. People knew Apostle Veal, people knew Pastor Veal, but they didn't know Pop. Not like I knew him.
Yeah.
But as far as our last interaction goes, we were in the hospital, and man, we were just talking. And the last thing that he said to me, and this was the word of wisdom that I did not take heed to, was, "Son, don't you give up." In a lot of instances in my life, I wish I would have taken that word of wisdom a little bit more seriously.
So what you feel like you gave up on?
Man, I had a career in football before I stopped playing my junior year. when he passed, I had this fear, and I don't know what it was. After he passed, football just wasn't the same for me.
Yeah, I can understand.
And my biggest fear going back to play my junior year was that I was going to call 405-6596 and expect for him to pick up the phone.
Uh-huh.
So my senior year, when I did go back, my very first game, I'll never forget, I wasn't even thinking, but I went to the back room and I dialed 225-405-6596.
Mm-hmm.
And the man on the other end of the phone said, hello. It wasn't him. And I cried my eyes out.
Yeah.
To me, had I taken his word seriously with the don't give up, son. Because at that point in my life, I was very disappointed with how the game was treating me and everything. Thank God that it didn't work out, because there's a lot of things that are going for me right now that is pushing me in the direction that I need to go. So nothing that's happened is happened in vain. Everything has happened for a reason.
No regrets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's none. But had I taken that more seriously, then there would probably be different outcomes.
Yeah.
In my spiritual walk, personal, emotional, physical, all of those things. Had I taken the advice, son, don't give up. That was my very last interaction, and those might have been his actual last words to me. Son, don't give up. Besides don't forget who you are. Don't give up. And don't let them get you down.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, yeah.
And like most pastors would say, as we come to a close, brothers and sisters, please place the collection plate to the right. Shout out to all the pastors out there. I want to shout out the fathers, because we're doing Father's Day thing. So I got a little list here. Let me just read off real quick. Won't take long. Shout out to my boy Travis Johnson Jr., who is a great father. His father was actually Travis Johnson Sr., who was a father figure to me as well. You know what I'm saying? Raised 3 great boys. The only other family I knew that is y'all. It's like y'all and them. The great families, you know what I'm saying? Good fathers. Good stock. I got to give a shout out to my boy Jamel, a.k.a. Twin, Instagram at Twin8484. Was he born in 84? I don't know why that boy came up with that. Shout out to my boy Anthony Latham, big brother to me, who's always there. And I got a shout out to all the Howards in Vacherie, Louisiana. Most of them have kids, got a big family on my dad's side. So I'm not going to have time to shout out everybody, but all my daddy's brothers and all my cousins who also have children. Shout out to my boy Henry Rome, a.k.a. Rome. Appreciate you. Mr. Jimmy Lee Small, when I was in the military. My daddy told me when I joined the military, he said, find you a mentor. And Jimmy Lee Small was my mentor. So much so that when he ended up having a stroke while we were out, and I knew he was a Freemason, and I went around and gathered all the Freemasons to donate money to him, to his family. So shout out to Jimmy Lee Small and my nephew Damian Till Jr., who's a new father. This should be like his second or third Father's Day. So, you know what I'm saying? I just want to shout out the fathers, the notable fathers in my life. Shout out to your dad, you know what I'm saying, for bringing you and your brothers into this world. Great people. Shout out to the women who allow the fathers to be fathers. You know what I'm saying? Well, I should say daddy, because anybody can father a child. But daddies is different.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We got to do a hashtag daddies don't run.
That's true.
Daddies don't run. When shit get tough, daddies don't run. So as closing, you know what I'm saying, I just want to thank you for coming through. I appreciate you taking the time. Shout out to Jordan on the other side of the camera. What he does is not easy. Hey, just want to thank everyone again for watching. I also want to remind you to make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and follow my Instagram at Unkle Mel Show. It will be down in the description. We have a lot of great content and topics coming up in the future videos, and make sure to check out my previous videos. They should be right here somewhere around this screen. Thanks again. How long you been cutting?